Hello everyone and welcome. In this recording, I'm going to be speaking about this upcoming new moon in the sign of Sagittarius on the 23rd or 24th of November, depending on where you are on the planet. And it takes place at 1 degree and approximately 37 minutes of the sign of Sagittarius. And one of the special elements of this new moon is that it doesn't actually hold a very powerful major aspect with anything, but there is another conjunction of Venus and Mercury taking place in Sagittarius at the same time with the conjunction of the Sun and Moon, so the new moon phenomenon. And another very distinctive element is that this 1 degree is very, very significant. And if you look at the Sabian symbol of this 1 degree of Sagittarius, between 1 and 2 degrees, and that represents the ocean or seawater, something like that, covered with whitecaps. So whenever we speak about the ocean, the sea, water with great depths, well, then we usually look at the unconscious element. The water represents the emotional world, but the ocean, usually it is the unconscious element within the emotional world, because that is where emotions and very many emotional elements which are kind of chaotic, which are free, which are very, very little under our control, that's where they arise from. But Sagittarius is a mutable energy. It is a very flexible, very adaptable sign, which means that there is a side to it which is very, very comfortable with the uncertainty, the unconscious element, everything that which is outside of our control, because it can very well navigate around it, adapt to it. Sagittarius always likes a new challenge. It always likes to, try never ever seen, felt, experimented before things. So the unconscious, the uncertain even, does not intimidate Sagittarius. But of course, there is another side to it. The glyph of Sagittarius, the arrow, which kind of reaches its target. So it doesn't need to adapt because it goes through everything. It reaches the destination. So that represents the element which we can control, which we can influence. So to me, this represents that perhaps faith, perhaps strong aspiration, strong ideal, and a new moon. So that which is born out of this can pass through very quickly even the unconscious. So the element of control is not really needed. And very many times when we do not have control over what is being created, what is being born, what is just rising to the surface, that's even better. Because all we need to know is the final destination, the bullseye. What are we aiming for? The path or the journey there many times doesn't really matter. And the less we know, empirically, rationally, because Mercury is also in the sign of Sagittarius, hand in hand with Venus. And this conjunction to me says that, Venus in Sagittarius, the wildest aspirations, the most exotic desires, that which where the heart can soar, the mind, Mercury, the mind has to give it a shape and form. It has to give it a methodology to get where it needs to get. So Sagittarius and Mercury is not all that powerful in the sign of Sagittarius because it is the opposite sign of Gemini. It's ruling, its home sign. So it doesn't need a lot of rationality, a lot of common sense, but it needs a lot of dreams and believing that we can get there. And even if we don't know everything that we need, the big picture, Mercury, we have to trust our intelligence, Mercury again, our ability to figure it out along the way. So that already is very, very Sagittarian. We have to trust our intelligence. And chances are, the less we know, and when I say the less we know, this means the Gemini kind of knowledge, the details, the practicality, how to get from A to B, that kind of stuff, the better. Because that would deeply get in our way. Mars retrograde in the sign of Gemini, that blocks and inconveniences travels, communication, flow of anything, documents, information, dates, times, plans, even our mental flow. It is not, very straightforward. It is not an easy energy because it also squares Neptune. So truth, have truth, intuition many times going against common sense. It's not a very easy energy. But with Mercury here, it can be easy as long as we allow not to feel, insecure because our mind cannot grasp the details. When the mind is fueled by belief, by, just the inner trust that we can figure it out. We can come up with the resources, with the strength, with whatever it is that we need along the way. Or, let's say this to me for a lot of people, this is the astrological configuration when someone comes up with the very, very best holiday plan. They find a place where they want to be. Something appeals to them. Something foreign. Because Sagittarius, international travels, air travel, long distance travel. So they find something that really, really appeals to them. And, Sagittarius also represents the law, courts of law, legal systems. So perhaps a legal way to get where you want, or visas, you finally made up your mind, you are starting a legal procedure, for example, visas, work rights, migration, the legal side, and of course the document side of this. You're just acquiring information, thus, Mars in Gemini, retrograde in Gemini. You have to filter out what is possible, what is not possible, what suits your unique circumstance, what doesn't. So a lot of, figuring out. But if the ideal, if the dream, if the desire, if the motivation is there, because this Venus in Sagittarius can mean, well, a long distance relationship which just begins. You need to see each other. So, But this can also be you fall in love with a job, with a career opportunity, a culture, a place, you fall in love with something that is either from a different culture, from abroad, or very, very exotic compared to your present preferences. But again, when Venus is hand in hand with Mercury, and this is also a new moon, for a lot of people, this can be communication, but, with love. So this is when, how a long distance relationship, especially when the partners belong to foreign cultures, or one is on this side of the border, the other one is on that side, they kind of start communicating, they meet. The love story kind of begins, and the fact that they're, apart is, when it happens, part of the charm, part of the deal. So they don't even need to very quickly figure stuff out and move in together. Because being apart but still being in love with each other is part of the picture right now, and the most wonderful part. Let's not forget, these are conjunctions, so the two planets bring, everything that they have to the table together, and what they bring to the table needs to be, and this is our job really, to be, alchemized well, so it forms a good partnership of energies and not necessarily is in conflict. So yeah, that is definitely part of the situation. And also justice, a legal situation changes. So this is how it kind of, for example, if you want to get married, that also means that you will need to start to change the legal situation of, not being in partnership. And Sagittarius is not something that is very, very likely to represent love and stuff like that. Rome, even though that can be included, because the Sagittarian type of romance is the adventurous type of romance, where there is both magic, there is both travel, drama, ideas, humor, complications. Anyway, so yeah. So this energy can be really, really good, and it can come as a breath of fresh air after the eclipses. And after, as you see the sun and moon, Venus and Mercury moved out of Scorpio, so that loosens the fixed energy. So it becomes that much more mutable, because Mars in Gemini mutable, Sagittarius mutable, Jupiter, Neptune and Pisces mutable, and Orcus, which is also significant in Virgo, mutable. So that's a strong mutable configuration. So this is when we adapt, when we figure it out, when whatever should hinder us, well, surprise, surprise, it doesn't hinder us, and we can escape tight situations, even karmic situations, as if by miracle, if you're flexible, agile on the soul level and mental level, of course. There is times when karma cannot be evaded, there is times when karma can be bypassed, and anything can be bypassed. And this energy is very, very good for bypassing, cheating, basically. But there is when you cheat responsibly, when you cheat with great wisdom, and when you cheat naively, foolishly, boldly, stupidly. There is situations and situations, if you know what I mean. This is a situation where if you have tons of wisdom, then cheat. Cheat fate, bypass everything that you can, get where you need to get very, very quickly and efficiently. Because if you only, let's say, if you only cheat once, 18 years, and other people in every day of their lives, for example, you go after a bargain. Depending on how you resolve that, karmically, that can be a cheating. That can be you taking away the benefits of a poorer person out of sheer greed, bargain hunting. It is one thing physically, and how society sees it. It is yet another how the divine sees it. So exactly, wisdom, and judgment, clear judgment. When is it greed and when is it quantum leaping, and the goal justifies the means. So this is how people can turn mutable energy boost into either something silly, cheating for the sake of cheating and making it easy for ourselves even though we might not need easiness at that time, or always being a obsessive hard worker, and once in your life there's the opportunity to truly make it easy for you, even the divine is begging you to take it, well then take it, if you know what I mean. You can very well opt not to take it, but that's just you being you again. The classic you. The Saturnian you. But speaking about Saturn, new moon, but the Saturn Uranus square is still ongoing. Jupiter is very, very almost standing still, coming to a slowdown. So extremely karmic in quite an energetic position in Pisces. That's heavy. That's the energy of the Piscean expression of it is heavy. So, we have all this freedom, action, let's dream big, a big flow of energy back and forth with Mars, of course. So even backwards, because retrograde. Because, sometimes it takes us back to square one in a millisecond. But with Mars retrograde in Gemini, square one is temporary, because after we figure out why we are taken back to square one, because square one is usually the roots of all. So if there's a slight error there, we very quickly resolve it and then quantum leap back where we were supposed to be. It's an inconvenience, but you fix the roots. You fix something radical, so you can only benefit from it. Regardless if it's in a contractual situation, conversation, alliance, partnership, anything that is susceptible to one and one. Gemini, the siblings. The very Gemini way to look at life is that everything out there is like a sibling to you, if you know what I mean. So, yeah. Sometimes when we go back a lot, like fall back a lot, but to tackle something which is at the very basis, the root, very Saturnian expression, then we can only be grateful for falling back, because after we resolve it, the journey back is quantum leap. Really, it's so fast. Because even the universe favors and rewards and encourages wisdom, encourages honesty, encourages, and female listeners, please don't be offended, but how to be a true man. When you truly admitted that you were wrong, the basis had a tiny error or whatever it was, you go back, fix it, and then, like a man, and then take the journey again. But as I said, the divine advantages you. So something in your journey back will quantum leap you, so no effort, because Gemini is very, very excellent at minimalizing effort and maximalizing result. That's why Mars retrograde in Gemini has a lot of good qualities to it. Yeah. So, speaking about Jupiter and Neptune in the sign of Pisces, the Piscean expression is pretty heavy. So, in our souls, we are in a state of preparation, regardless of what the mind, what our dreams, etc., even the unconscious, but Pisces is like the soul. So if the soul is in preparation, a tiny little bit, all part of our being will be in a weird state of serendipity, expecting this Jupiter to do its job, its final kicks in Pisces. Because basically that's how we can translate this energy. This is in one area for all of us, and that is where it's boiling, stirring, dissolving, and we're expecting Jupiter, that whatever that is for us personally, to finally do its job and move on into Aries. And Neptune, well, Neptune is also retrograde, so Neptune is basically doing its job, but the Neptunian expression is until 2026, so, Neptune still has a lot of time. It's not Neptune that agitates the waters, really, but Jupiter. And standing still, being very, very slow, so the karma is that very, very powerful, but we can bypass it. No problem at all. We have coping skills, coping mechanisms. Yes, there will come a moment when the Sun, Venus and Mercury will be squaring both Neptune and Jupiter, because mutable energy. That's the moment when we bypass it. But we can either bypass it, as I said, foolishly out of not real necessity, or out of big wisdom, out of, basically understanding why Mercury is also the planet of thieves, Loki, and etc. And how that is ultimately a great beneficial force in the universe. That sometimes that is real justice. That is divine justice and not courts of justice. So yeah, bypassing even the karmic powers and the smile that it will bring to our faces. But as you can see, I cannot encourage anyone to do this. And I cannot actually tell you the formulas here because, as I said, that is so very susceptible to your own morality, your own connection to the divine, and Jupiter, religion. So, spirituality is okay, but no living being on this, as in person on this planet, has total freedom in spirituality. All of us are religious. All of us, even atheists. But what religion means to us, our own dogma, that's where we are the high priest, we are everything, and the follower as well. So this is the deepest part of our faith. That is just Neptunian energy. And Jupiter is in Pisces. That is faith. So faith needs matrix. That's why all of us are a tiny little bit dogmatic. Even people who have no religion, even people who are arch enemies of religion, are still dogmatic in their own unique way. Just that, as I said, the ocean filled with whitecaps. The unconscious, here they're not aware of it. But everything has a structure. Everything has a reasoning. Everything has a ritual to it. And that is where, as I said, spirit needs to be a little tiny bit in an earthly lived way, hand in hand with dogma. And a Saturnian expression of it. So that's why all of us have rituals, all of us have our own morality. For some, of course, it matches a religion. For others, only their own inner construct. Yet still, we're all susceptible to that. So bypassing it, as I said, sometimes we will bypass our own dogmas, our own rituals, our own construct, our own faith matrix. And that is absolutely okay because that is what Sagittarius is all about. In a way, that is what the square is all about. Yet it will be the wisdom and the deep understanding of what the spirit is that will make the difference between, as I said, if it's a silly cheat or if it's the wisest thing you ever done in your life. But this part of it is just alchemy. It's not even real. Because this might just be a choice, a decision that will enact in your life. But the blueprint of that small choice decision, the holiday destination, the reply that you're going to give, the legal action that you're going to, that small decision, that small preference, that small option has a very complex divine blueprint to it. Hence this new moon. Who knows what will be born out of this energy? What new faith, what new philosophy, what new travel, relationship, career, long distance, connection, or perhaps a study, long distance study, as in you study in a different country. We don't know. But what we can know is that it will also be very, very influential on the world stage because Jupiter, yeah, but Sagittarius, the ruling sign of Jupiter, governs law. It govern and Again, the Sabian symbol, what it is that we do not know, what it is that we're not aware of, that will cause a change, a new procedure, a new methodology in the global collective legal system. Another expression of this energy collectively, Sagittarius cosmology, space travel. Something new and knowledge, but also Venus. Practical knowledge, knowledge which also appeals to us quite quickly, appears. So maybe traveling to space and back, casually, personally, and that not being extremely expensive, might be part of this deal. But the idea of that is presented to us now. Anything that has to do with, quantum physics, anything that has to do with classic astronomy, everything that has to do with atoms, molecules, hypothesis being proved is part of this picture, and great academic results and realizations are also part of this energy. But, Mars trines Saturn. That is a kind of a militaristic energy, so there's conflict in the world at this time. And also, Mars square Neptune. There's a lot of misinformation and psychological warfare at this time. Jupiter sextile Pluto. This is where we need to use our power, so to speak. Because if not, others will use it for us. Our own. Other people will use it for us. We need to be alchemizing. We need to be dreaming big. We need to be philosophers in our own lives. We need to be very, very active on a soul level. And when I say soul level, it stems from the unconscious. So yeah, Pisces and dream and spirit and all that. But at the same time, let's be honest, this is Sagittarian. We need to elevate that, shoot that up to the heavens. We need to be the philosopher, the big dreamer. We need to know that it's possible. We need to know that the divine is basically encouraging us to elevate something, something deep, something unconscious, something that we cannot even identify. Hence, we need to help the dream to be born, to birth itself. There are elements that we can bring to the table, where there are elements that we are oblivious to, we just don't know, we just need to support it in unknowledge, trust, but that's trust. But out of this cauldron, alchemical cauldron, a wonderful new reality can be born. And being passive to the creational process is not optional. Why? Because if you're passing something, someone else will extract the creational energy out from us and use it. For example, the war gets more interesting. So you're forced to make certain, anticipations. Your creational energy was taken away from you. Why should that be your scenario? Why should you be making anticipations? Why? If it comes as a surprise, so what? No, this is like Jupiter in the sign of the Wheel of Fortune. You can't prepare for this no matter what you do. And that's in the most positive ways, as you can prepare for the miracle. You can prepare when, I don't know, the divine puts you on a pedestal. You can't. So that's why there is stuff that you can do, there is stuff that you cannot do, but giving your power away to fear, to ridiculous, demands is not gonna be a bright idea. Better mind your own business and your own dreams, and even if your situation is not that bright, elevate it somehow. Somehow find optimism, find dreams, find love, Find playfulness, find the arrow of your desires. There, it has to be there. And it can get you out of any, as I said, avoidance. Mutable energy is the best to dodge, to evade, to avoid, to dodge, I don't know, not be hit, not be caught, not be involved, not be grounded, not be pulled down. That's the mutable fire. Well, it's even better than air. Because fire can phase out, go into another dimension, basically. When fire burns out, let's say, it doesn't burn out, it just burns in a different place. Matter, antimatter. Any mirror universe, fire perhaps is eternal, and we don't know it. We thought it went out, but it didn't, really. It burns at a different place. So anyway, we are never ever defeated. We can never ever give up. This is the type of attitude that really supports this new moon. Of course, wisdom and diligence and down-to-earth attitude to it, Saturn, of course. Yes, absolutely, but that's part of. But when it comes to fate and what we feel inside of us as the future that we're hell-bent on creating, then we need to never give up, have total faith in ourselves, in that the universe is supporting us, the dream can become true. We don't know how, but we don't even care, because that's the best of Sagittarius. We might not know the small details, but Sagittarius, we know the ancient wisdom, we know quantum physics, we know how the universe works, we know the divine. So we know what we need to know, that it is gonna happen. So this touch of optimism, oh, it does wonders in the alchemical cauldron of Jupiter sextile Pluto. It really, really works the inner power, and it makes it manifest. So don't allow anyone or anything else to manifest that which you don't want. So yeah. So this is my interpretation of this Sagittarius new moon. Again, I have to say, please, please dream big and let only the stars be the limit to your dreams and faith, because no one can take that, no one can restrict that, how much faith and hope and optimism you want to have in your life. So, thank you so much for listening. Until next